Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. That's Justin Wells. Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Go to that first link in our description. Sign up for Inside Texas. Use that QR code up there. There we go. In the top left corner. Join Inside Texas because you'll get all the best insight, all the best analysis on everything, including big recruiting news. And Justin, Texas landed a commitment today from Georgetown, from a little bit north on I-35, from offensive lineman Kaden Scherer. 2026 was previously committed to Stanford, flipped from the Cardinal to the Burnt Orange.
Yeah, so with Kaden Scherer, this one's a fun one because, 6'6", 275, about 280 pounds, really smart kid, really good feet, really good technician. And he's a kid that I think he projects to offensive tackle. That's what he plays. He's the left tackle. That's the guy that their running back, Jack Walker, likes to run behind. But the thing with that really stood out, I think, to me with Kaden is the fact that he is versatile. Okay, like he's a guy that could be a one-size-fits-all type of offensive lineman. Kyle Flood likes him at tackle. They also think he has the ability to pull and could play guard. He's also cerebral and smart enough to play center. And this is the kind of guy you want to get. Whenever you're going to get a guy at this kind of level, you want the versatility. Even though we know how much Texas needs offensive tackles, the truth is they need numbers in that room. It ain't just tackles, it's interior linemen as well. And so Kaden, I think, adds a little bit of both of that. The best thing, too, also not just the fact how smart he is. He's a strong kid, but he is going to get stronger. He has a great frame. He's got a really good mindset. He's a very team-first oriented kid. He's that locker room presence that I think every class needs a handful of these type of guys. And so I like what Texas is doing with the offensive line. I think he is very complimentary when he's joining guys like a John Turntine and a Max Wright and a Nicholas Robertson. I think there's a fit there. We also know that Flood has a type. And this is a kid that, that Swiss Army knife type ability is something that, look, if we used to have a big thing about Stanford with tight ends, and you can make the same case with offensive linemen. Those are good evaluations. And just getting to talk to Kaden, you can tell he grew up a Texas fan, and this is a big, big deal for him because he, like some of his teammates, he's always kind of watched the Horns on Saturdays. And so this is a dream come true for him.
Kind of looking at his film, you don't see perfect technique from him, but you still see some strength. You see the ability to move. You can see a lot of good stuff with the lower body. A lot of
great movement. Yeah,
a lot of stuff to work on with the upper body. But still 6'6", pushing 270, things like that. Like that's someone who you can figure out what to do with, and you won't need right away. So you talked a little bit about going and seeing him there at Georgetown not too long ago, or some of the things you picked up just from watching him. And also just picked up as far as how Texas has handled this recruitment, because this is a name that kind of popped up maybe within the last 2 or 3 weeks or so.
It did. Remember, the official visit kind of came out of nowhere, and then the offer was probably about a week after that. But the truth is they've been talking to Kaden since his junior season. He's actually made a few of those game day visits. And, sometimes when we have those recruiting visit weekends and there's a handful of prospects, area guys that we don't know a whole lot about, that's one of these kids. Kaden had been one of those guys that had been visiting and taking those game day visits. He didn't really start getting super close with Kyle Flood until around August, September, he told me. He said that's when Coach Flood and a couple of the other recruiting staffers started contacting him on a regular basis. And then Coach Flood came to watch him. And he said once Flood came to watch him, the contact amped up almost instantly. And so this was a guy that Kyle Flood had been kind of watching, been kind of taking care of. And then all of a sudden, once he saw him in person, nice little pancake there, Kaden. Once he saw him in person, it just made a lot of sense. And again, we know how much this class needs tackles, but again, this class needs depth on the offensive line. They need a few more numbers there. We know what they're going to do in the portal. They're going to add some guys there. With a Kaden Scherer, this is a guy, like you said, you can pop him in the oven and let him cook for a couple of years. You can let him get developed. And with his frame and his mentality and that smartness, that awareness, that's the kind of guy that you want at the end of a cycle when you're bringing in, the last few of a class in 2026. And so he just grew up a Texas fan. It was local. It was close. It was easier. Like, this kid loved Palo Alto. He loved the opportunity to potentially go to Stanford and make himself, whatever he's going to do. But once Texas really came correct, it was the Horns. That was his dream. It's who he grew up watching. It's who he grew up loving. And now he gets to play a lot closer to home, which his parents are real fired up about.
I always love a kid who's not afraid to put, maybe it's a flag on him on his tape, but it shows a little bit of effort, shows it's not always going to be a flag, and shows he's willing to get dirty. So I saw that from
we need
Scherer.
Some nasty. You want some nasty out of your offensive line.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor. That is Josh Holden Real Estate.
Quick time out. If you have a move coming up in the Dallas area, put real estate agent Josh Holden in your starting lineup. He's a UT grad, a lifetime Texas Ex, and he scouted every inch of the Metroplex. From Highland Park and Preston Hollow to Uptown and Old East Dallas, Josh Holden knows the market, and he's going to match you with the perfect home. On top of that, he has years of experience in commercial property management, so he has the playbook for contracts, curb appeal, and everything in between. Bottom line, Josh Holden is an easy win. He is reliable, savvy, and he helps you close with confidence. Reach him at josh@joshholdenrealestate.com, or you can call or text 972-917-8081. Contact info is in the description.
As we get closer and closer to National Signing Day, we look at the way this offensive line room is starting to look. And we know that Texas, just, not to name names, we're not going to name names, but just, people are going to leave. There's going to be churn in this offensive line room.
Yes.
Still figuring out how everything's going to look in this class, but we know John Turntine and Nick Robinson are solid. And whether it's a 3-man class, a 4-man class, no matter what it looks like, you still need to have that baseline number every year. You need that positional versatility every year. And to have an interior, to have 2 exterior, and then a full swing, you may pick up one, you may lose one, but adding Scherer gives this class a little bit of everything that every offensive line class needs.
Yeah, that was very well said. And that's kind of, I think, the way Kyle Flood and the staff approached it. We see it as they connected in the last month. Truth is, they've been talking for a while. And I think that's what was so endearing, because you've got to have a certain amount of numbers. You got to have a certain benchmark when you're going cycle to cycle. And in this day and age, the best staffs manage that the best. They balance that portal in that high school recruiting the best. They have a good understanding of your high-end guys, your developmental guys, and then you've got another section now of portal guys. And the thing that when you bring in these kids, that's what I liked about Kaden. He's not naive. He understands they're looking for starters to play next year. He's not thinking he's going to come in and potentially play, start early on. And a lot of recruits, they love that idea, but it's not always real. And with Kaden, he understands he's got to be developed. But at the same time, he's going to show up trying to get into their rotation. That's why he's picking Texas. That's why he wants to play in the SEC and play on the national stage like that. And so give Kyle Flood, Sark, and those guys credit, because they are, even when you think they're not working on shoring up a class, or maybe they're short on a position, they're paying attention. They've got numbers. They got a big board. They've got guys they're constantly contacting, constantly reevaluating. I think Sark and those guys have done a tremendous job at late senior evals. Every cycle, there's been 2 or 3 guys that they've brought in every year that have been that late senior eval that wind up having fantastic careers. And so give those guys credit for not being tunnel visioned and looking at only a few early on, having kind of a broader scope. And understanding, like, a guy like this, hey, they could use a tackle. He could play guard. But I love the fact that this kid might be a center. And I think every cycle, one of your offensive linemen has to have some center qualities.
With you there. We'll be talking a lot about Scherer, about this entire class, about everything Texas Longhorns over at InsideTexas.com. So go ahead, use that first link in our description to sign up. Use that QR code there at the top left of your screen. Join Inside Texas here as we're getting ready for how the 2025 season shakes out, how the 2025 recruiting class finishes up, what's next for Steve Sarkisian and everybody. Always a great time to join Inside Texas. Justin, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.